everyone, this is Donna Chandler, the social media fitness guru. And today we're going to use a very popular social media site, LinkedIn, as you can see, to conduct research. The way that you do that on LinkedIn and most social media is to ask questions of people who know more about what you are seeking answers about than you do. And there are a couple of ways to ask questions on LinkedIn, a couple of effective ways. One of them is you can share a status update and ask a question in your status, and you may get some answers. But there are two better ways to ask questions on LinkedIn, and today we're going to focus on one of those. But first, this assumes that you have a LinkedIn profile that you have created and completed as much as possible. And that includes adding your picture, and your current and past professional experience, a summary about who you are, and a summary of what you do, as well as if you have been so blessed to get some recommendations, you got some recommendations, and you have joined some groups, and you're actually involved on LinkedIn. The reason you want to do this is because people who will be looking at your question will also be looking at your profile to determine who you are. They're just more comfortable answering questions of people that they think they can get to know at least a little bit about before they answer the question. That will determine the tone that they use usually, and sometimes it can be snarky, so you'll have to get past that, and the way in which they answer your question. But there are some other key things that you can do to make certain that your question gets answered effectively. So what am I talking about? Well, we're going to go back up to this navigation bar, which is, of course, just below this logo, and we're going to go over to More, and we're going to click Answers. This is where you get answers and answer questions on LinkedIn. As you can see, there's a little conversation box. This conversation box denotes the fact that on social media, it is about conversations and relationships. You start conversations to develop relationships. So you can ask a question or answer questions. As you can see, my answer questions box is already pre-populated with several categories because I ask a lot of questions and I actually answer questions, something I'm going to do more of to show myself to be an expert in the areas that are listed here. And I am let's just say I have a lot of professional background in these areas. But we're focusing today on asking a question and starting a conversation by asking a question. So we're going to put the cursor in the Ask a Question box. And to save time, I have created my question already in TextEdit. So I'm going to copy and paste my question from TextEdit into the Ask a Question box. This works the same way on a PC as it does on my MacBook. So you click Next, and you'll get another page where you can add details. Go back to TextEdit, get the details. Now, it's really important that you do add details if you can, because the more information you provide about your question, the better answers you're going to get about your particular need. You want to make certain that it doesn't have any typos. Well, that's not a typo. That's just a word that's not in the dictionary. You want to be as professional as possible. Ask as detailed a question as you can, while at the same time being rather concise, because people don't want to read a long question. So you ask the question the best way you know how, with the question and the details. You ask the question in a way that is going to attract attention from the experts or the people with the information that you don't have that you want. So after you put the details in, you categorize your question. And there are numerous categories. Now, don't let the fact that you see career and education here fool you into thinking that you can ask questions about three categories that we're going to discuss that are related to career, which are recruiting and job seeking, or because there are some business categories here, you can ask about you can promote your services. We'll talk about that in a moment. I'm going to go down and choose marketing and sales, writing and editing, because if by now you don't know, my question is about finding particular types of bloggers. And then I'm going to go down and choose a second category, and you have up to 2 you can choose. So choose carefully, because the way that you choose your categories will determine how good of answers you'll get. So my second category I'm going to choose is public relations, because that's actually a public relations question. Now, you have a couple of other choices that you can make here, or several other choices you can make here. One is to choose whether your question is focused around a specific geographic location. If you have a brick and mortar business, or your career and education question, for example, is related to finding a particular training program, you're going to want to choose that selection, because the people in that area are going to be the ones who are going to answer your question, and they're the ones who have the most information about the particular programs and services and resources in your area. So if it is resource specific to a geographical location, then you want to check that box. In my case, this is the internet. This means that I want the over 100 million people that are members of LinkedIn to have the opportunity to answer my question for me. Typically, it's only going to be a subset of those individuals who are answering questions in marketing and sales, public relations, and writing and editing. Next, there is a group of selections that you can make, but I wouldn't advise you to. Is your question related to recruiting, promoting your services, or job seeking? Well, if you check any of these, LinkedIn will not post your question. There are certain other areas on this site that you can post questions related to these areas, but not here in the answers section of the site. So do not check any of these boxes unless you just don't want your question posted. Next, click Ask Question. Here you have the opportunity to share your connections with up to 200 of your connections. I have several thousand connections, but I don't want to limit my question to 200 people. I want as broad an exposure to my question as possible. So as I've already said, I want the nearly over 100 million LinkedIn users to be able to have the opportunity to answer my question, because any one of them might have an answer that is one that I'm looking for. So I'm going to click Skip. And wait a minute, we're back at the answers homepage. Well, what happened? Well, my question was posted. And as you can see, there are some tabs up here next to Answers Home that you can click. You're going to click My Q&A. And voila, here is my question that I posted a minute ago. Now let me show you a couple of things. First, you can clarify your question. If you feel like you didn't ask enough or didn't put enough information in, you remember something, you go here and you click your question and you click Add Clarification. I don't need to add a clarification yet. There may be a point at which I need to add a clarification. My question is not being answered in the way that I expected. If they're not actually answering the question that I asked, I may need to clarify. But in this case, I don't need to clarify. Second, I'm going to go back to my Q&A, and I'm going to show you some questions that I have asked in the past several days. And as you can see, I only have one more question I can ask this month. I've asked a number of questions. So let's see. The one that has the most answers is this one. What are some unique ways you've used social media to promote your business successfully? Well, I've got 15 answers to this question. And what you can do is you look at the answers, and these answers end up in your inbox, which is right here. And you can respond individually to each of these individuals, which I suggest you take the time to do, because these people took the time to answer your question. What you'll see right next to these names is a little bubble if you are somehow connected to them. In this case, I'm connected to this individual as a second level. But here is one of my favorite LinkedIn users, Dave Maskin, who is a first level connection. So that means, remember that box, that page where you could choose connections to whom you wanted to send your question? Well, one of my first level connections answered my question anyway, so I didn't even need to limit it to those people. But as you can see, people that are not connected to you or in your they're not in your network will answer your questions. What this shows is these people are out of my network, but these people, some of the other people are in my network. So I allowed the over 100 million users interested in my particular area, or the subset of those interested in my particular area, to answer my question. And when the question closes in 3 days, I will get to rank the best answer. And that is something that's going to be very helpful to those who have answered the question because it helps them improve their performance. So, social media fitness gurus of the future, this is how you ask questions on LinkedIn using the answers feature. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.